It's a big win for India at the International Court of Justice. The 16 judges at The Hague found that, yes, ICJ has jurisdiction. It's a major setback for Pakistan. It also found that Pakistan was in violation of the Vienna Convention on Consular Access. 15 judges in favor, only one judge, a Pakistani judge, against this. India stands. In this case, India's stance has been accepted by the International Court of Justice. So what does this mean? India will get consular access to Kulbhushan Jadhav. There is a stay now on Kulbhushan Jadhav's hanging. But will Pakistan now give Kulbhushan Jadhav a fair trial? That remains the big question. India Today's Geeta Mohan and Lavina Tandon at The Hague bring you a top story.
2 years after he was abducted from Iran and branded an Indian spy by Pakistan, Pakistan has now suffered a massive embarrassment at the International Court of Justice.
Declares that a continued stay of execution constitutes an indispensable condition for the effective review and reconsideration of the conviction and sentence of Mr. Kulbhushan Jadhav.
The International Court of Justice not only granted India consular access to Jadhav, but also stayed Jadhav's execution. The court also said Pakistan violated the Vienna Convention and asked Pakistan to review Jadhav's conviction and sentence.
In light of the foregoing, the court finds that it has jurisdiction under Article 1 of the optional protocol to entertain India's claims based on alleged violations of the Vienna Convention.
Back home in India, celebrations erupted, with Prime Minister Modi too hailing the verdict.
हाँ बहुत बड़ी जीत है इसमें कहीं दो राय नहीं.
एक बहुत अच्छी खबर अंतर्राष्ट्रीय कोर्ट से आई है क्योंकि इसमें जो काउंसलर एक्सेस भी नहीं दे रहे थे वो भी अब कुलभूषण को मिलेगा.
This landmark judgment validates India's position on this matter fully. We will continue to work vigorously for Sri Kulbhushan Jadhav's early release and return to India.
Jadhav's family hopes the verdict will ensure his quick return.
We were actually happy, so not still full happy. You see, actually my nephew should come back. No, that is my prayer to the God.
But Pakistan is still in denial.
India asked for at least acquittal, release, return. It didn't get that relief.
Islamabad claimed India's case has been rejected and added that the ICJ had upheld its military court's jurisdiction.
Here at the International Court of Justice, it's a huge victory for India, but all eyes on Pakistan. Will Pakistan implement the ICJ's orders, or will it continue with the military kangaroo courts in Pakistan and not give a fair trial to Kulbhushan Jadhav? With Lavina Tandon, Geeta Mohan at The Hague for India Today.
And the man of the moment, Harish Salve, India's counsel at the International Court of Justice. Remember, it was a very tricky decision. It had to be taken in the nick of time. So Prime Minister Narendra Modi, the then External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj, Ambassador Jai Shankar, also the National Security Advisor Ajit Doval. It was a close call. Pakistan could have hanged Kulbhushan Jadhav any time. So to save his life, a decision was taken to go to the International Court of Justice. Remember, just today, Mohammad Faisal, Pakistan Army spokesperson, said that India ambushed Pakistan at the ICJ. Pakistan fought the case. Of course, Pakistan lost. Let's listen in to Harish Salve, who said he was satisfied with the verdict, even though it meant that Kulbhushan Jadhav wasn't coming back home just as yet.
The court has held that Pakistan is guilty of what it, and this is what I have written down when I was hearing the judgment, the court has held that Pakistan is guilty of internationally wrongful acts of a continuing character, and it must cease those acts. I think in the language of diplomacy, which is the language of the International Court of Justice, this is trenchant indictment. I see this judgment with a sense of relief, a sense of gratification. And of course, they have said that till all this is done, there is no question of executing him. So I see this as something which we are very happy with, and I think it is now a good moment for us to help Jadhav get justice, ensure he has a fair trial, and since I know this is a question which all of you must be having in your mind, what if? The answer is, as in the other cases, the way the court judgment is, we can always go back to them if what they give is not a fair trial. The victory is a victory of the rule of law. And whenever the rule of law wins over state tyranny, I consider it personally, perhaps being a liberal at heart, to be a big victory. What next for Jadhav? The next for Jadhav is consular access. Hopefully we might even be able to secure, maybe I'm being ambitious, secure a meeting with his family which is unhindered. And Jadhav protests his innocence. I'm sure if it is a fair trial with the correct legal assistance, we will secure his release. And if the trial is not fair, we can go back and knock at the door of the ICJ.
That's a very pragmatic approach that Harish Salve is adopting. It's a very pragmatic approach that India has adopted all along. Went to the International Court of Justice to ensure that Pakistan does not hang Kulbhushan Jadhav, saved his life, got a breather. Like I said, a battle has been won, but there still is a war ahead. A war to ensure Kulbhushan Jadhav gets a free, fair, transparent trial, consular access, and hopefully he comes back home. How difficult is the road ahead? Joining me now on the broadcast is Sushant Sareen, a senior fellow at the Observer Research Foundation, someone who studies Pakistan very closely. Also with me is Ambassador Shiv Shankar Mukherjee, someone who understands Pakistan very well. Meher Tarar will join us from Pakistan in just a moment. Colin Gonsalves is a senior advocate who joins us for legal perspective. But I first want to go across to the International Court of Justice at The Hague, where Geeta Mohan joins us. Geeta, have you now been able to speak to some of the officials, some diplomats at the Indian Embassy? Are they finally breathing a sigh of relief? It's a step forward. It's a battle won. The war is still to be fought, Geeta.
Well, that's right, but it's a very, very important battle one, a very critical and a very crucial one, Gaurav. And we will be briefed by the Indian officials at the Indian Embassy. We will be getting a word, but even before that, I was speaking to a few officials myself. They're very happy, like we reported. We had already put it out, Gaurav, that the few things that India thought should come India's way, and that would be considered a huge victory. Everything else was an ask, was only to see whether if ICJ can adjudicate upon or not. But the main areas where India knew that ICJ had jurisdiction and where we are bound to win, and if it comes our way, that would be considered a huge victory, and the only victory India was really concerned about, and that's consular access for Kulbhushan Jadhav, the review and reconsideration of the unfair trial that took place in Pakistan. And a bonus over here was the fact that the ICJ also gave its opinion on the death sentence, staying the execution till the time the first two conditions are met.
So we've got a breather. We've got a breather. Ambassador Mukherjee, in your appreciation, will Pakistan now give India, one, immediate consular access, and two, a free and fair review, judicial review of what's happened so far?
The answer to the first of your questions, I think, is probably, I don't see how Pakistan, no matter how much they squirm and fudge and lie or whatever, I don't see how they can avoid giving consular access now to the Indian side, particularly at a time when their recent actions are showing that they are under tremendous international pressure from the FATF, from the visit to America, where he is trying to convince the Americans that they are doing something about terrorism, this farcical arrest of Hafiz Saeed and so on. But the answer to your second question is really much more problematic, because I don't see Pakistan giving, straight away deciding to give a free and fair trial to Kulbhushan Jadhav. That has been the clear judgment propounded by the International Court of Justice.
Oh, absolutely.
But it's quite another matter for a state like Pakistan.
So I'll come to the farcical arrest of Hafiz Mohammed Saeed in just a moment, because that's that's the double whammy. Pakistan has been compelled to arrest Hafiz Saeed. I'll come to that aspect in a moment. But Sushant Sareen, how do you view this verdict, and in your appreciation, and you follow Pakistan like with a hawk eye, will Pakistan now give him a fair trial? Will consular officials get access to him? Could he well be suffering a Stockholm syndrome? Will he be in a sound frame of mind? That's a big challenge.
Look, Gaurav, let's be realistic. Free and fair trial is an oxymoron in Pakistan. It doesn't happen. Especially in celebrated cases. It doesn't happen with their own former prime ministers, politicians. We've seen the arrest of a very senior politician on trumped up drug charges. We've seen all of that. So to expect that the Pakistanis are going to actually clean up their judicial system to give a free and fair trial to Mr. Jadhav just because the ICJ has said so, I would be kind of surprised. I can expect a retrial. I can expect, I can hope for at least, a retrial or an open trial in which the Pakistani state would be asked to produce proper documentary evidence under which they have convicted or sentenced Mr. Jadhav.
But in a civil court or a reconstituted military court remains the issue.
No, it can't be a reconstituted military court because military courts no longer exist in Pakistan.
Exactly. And
there is a possibility. There is a possibility of the Pakistanis going in for something but a kind of a court martial, something which is there in their provision, in their laws, which they can do, but I don't think that will hold any credibility. And what Mr. Salve said, that if they were going to go down that road, then the ICJ doors are open again. Finally, they could also prosecute him in an anti-terrorist court. But the important point is that it will be an open court where Mr. Jadhav will be given the right to legal representation, something which was virtually denied to him, in the kangaroo court, which was the military court.
And Colin Gonsalves, isn't that the problem all along? Today's ICJ verdict is in your appreciation, is that an indictment of that sham general court martial in a Pakistani military court? No charge sheet, as India said, no evidence produced in public, no verdict given, and yet he was sentenced to death. Is that an indictment of Pakistan's military judicial system by the ICJ?
Well, it is an indictment of the military tribunals that actually sentenced Jadhav to death. And the simple thing was that if you don't allow consular access and you don't allow the High Commission, the Indian High Commission, to give Jadhav a lawyer, which is fundamental for a free trial, obviously everything down the line is vitiated. But I'm a little bit more optimistic on the future for Jadhav.
Okay.
Because there is no doubt that the ICJ opinion, which says that you must reconsider and review the conviction and sentence, is binding on Pakistan.
Yes.
And once the High Commission gives Jadhav a good legal defense team, even if the particular trial is not done well, you must remember, and people in India generally may not know, that the access to the High Court and the Supreme Court of Pakistan can sometimes be a real and robust access. The judiciary in Pakistan, the High Courts and Supreme Court, and some of the judges and some of the lawyers are capable of putting up a very good fight.
Well, let's
so
sincerely
I think we should not expect that everything is going to be a
because I'm
kangaroo
going to come
system.
to that aspect in a moment, Colin Gonsalves.
There will no doubt be.
Remember, it was the Lahore High Court, full judge bench that actually let Hafiz Saeed go. So, faith in Pakistani judiciary, with due respect, is rather, limited at this point of time. But let me take that question to Ambassador Mukherjee. Ambassador Mukherjee, are you hopeful that the road ahead maybe a little smoother. Look, consider the facts. Consider the facts. Pakistan is in the international, as many say, international doghouse. It's the Financial Action Task Force is breathing down its neck. Pakistan is in trouble with FATF. It's lost 3 big international cases. Financially, it's in trouble. It's going to the US. You just read what Donald Trump tweeted about Hafiz Saeed's arrest. So will Pakistan be making some conciliatory gestures like it did perhaps opening the airspace or the Kartarpur Sahib corridor, Ambassador Mukherjee?
Well, it is conceivable. What you're saying is conceivable. I don't believe it, simply because as far as India is concerned and as far as Pakistan's policy of causing maximum damage and harm to India is concerned, which is their one-point obsessive agenda, the slightly conciliatory actions of Pakistan off and on depend entirely on the context. If there's a lot of pressure on Pakistan, right, as it is now, you know, for instance, to blunt criticism on terrorism, you arrest a terrorist like Hafiz Saeed, you shove him into house arrest and you release him later, and so on. But as far as India is concerned, I do not see Pakistan willing to give up a pawn on the chessboard like Kulbhushan Jadhav without going on trying to extract the maximum amount of propaganda that they can out of him. It's not just a question of losing face, which the Pakistani military always has, by the way, been careful about. But given the track record of Pakistan and its track record you know, all its actions with regard to any of the cases that deal with India, not just Mumbai but a host of others.
Okay.
I think we are going to see a dragging out in time, all sorts of legal calisthenics, time-consuming calisthenics, dates being
Sushant
advanced.
Sareen, you're also not hopeful of Pakistan turning a new leaf. In your appreciation, you know, Sushant Sareen, loss of face for Pakistan today, will this make Pakistan more belligerent? You know, perhaps we won't find, even if consular access is given to Kulbhushan Jadhav, he may not be in a sound state of mind. He may be suffering Stockholm syndrome. Pakistan will do everything to clear the pitch instead of trying to improve ties with India.
Look, Gaurav, I think there is one possibility which we cannot ignore. I agree with Ambassador Mukherjee when he says that the Pakistanis will try and extract the maximum out of this entire episode. I think they've already done that. Over the last few years, ever since they, you know, abducted Jadhav and, you know, have been parading him around and trying to raise that issue at virtually every forum, they have milked Jadhav for whatever he was worth. They've used him for whatever propaganda he was worth. Now the diminishing returns have set in. After today's judgment, I don't know what else they're going to flaunt to the rest of the world. You know, anybody who reads, and I've had a very perfunctory, I've gone through the judgment very perfunctorily, but if you go through it, it's a scathing indictment on Pakistan.
Yes.
And virtually every one of their contentions has been dismissed and demolished. So for them to now continue to, you know, use this guy, I don't know what sense it makes. Not that Pakistanis ever do very sensible things. That is one point. Secondly, I don't think they can really go against the ICJ judgment simply because of the implications it has for Pakistan's already, you know, muddy image in the rest of the world.
Okay.
You know, if you're a Pakistani passport holder, you get pulled out, you get treated like something that the cat brought in, you know, all of that. That is on one hand. On the other hand, please try and understand that with this case having become such a cause célèbre in India and other places, can the Pakistanis afford to cock a snook at the rest of the world and at India and actually carry out a sentence which would not only be unconscionable but which would be extremely expensive in terms of the repercussions it will have on the future of India-Pakistan relations at a time when they're leaning over backward for some kind of an engagement.
And which is where it brings me to a question that India should not suffer the Prithviraj Chauhan syndrome at this point of time. Colin Gonsalves, in your appreciation, should India continue to mount pressure on Pakistan to ensure if that's possible, bring Kulbhushan Jadhav back home. Not just a trial in Pakistan. Our effort should be release that man. You've held him under a sham case. Release him to us as quickly as possible instead of, this Aman Ki Asha kind of a forward movement. And then Pakistan once again uses this opportunity to regroup, rearm and bleed us again. Colin Gonsalves.
Yes, of course, we must keep up continuous pressure. This is a very important first step, but we must realize this is a first step in a series of many steps that India has to take. Ultimately, the best solution would be to get him back and to have the trial set aside, to have the conviction set aside. But it's a very long journey, we must realize that. And ultimately, we want the man back. But it is, today, a huge victory for the Indian officials and for the marvelous team of lawyers that did the case.
Oh, absolutely. Ambassador Mukherjee, is that a pipe dream? Is that a very distant dream? That was AIM Plus. Try and get Kulbhushan Jadhav back to India. And because Pakistan may use this as an opportunity to try to get India to engage with Pakistan, resume bilateral dialogue. They're making some of the right noises about opening the skies, opening the Kartarpur Sahib corridor and all of that. How do you see this case proceed? What should India's strategy be from this point of time? Resume dialogue, Prithviraj Chauhan syndrome, or push home the advantage and try and bring him back home?
No, I think our strategy should be, and I'm pretty sure it will be, to take a good, dispassionate look at this whole situation. We won a victory in terms of law. We've actually not yet got justice for Kulbhushan Jadhav. We have prevented injustice and we've bought time. And I agree with Mr. Gonsalves. Our next few steps, our strategy should be a step-by-step approach. Our first step immediately, of course, should be to press as strongly as we can for consular access, so that we can meet our people can meet Kulbhushan Jadhav and get from information on all that he's been through. Subsequently, I think we will have to continue to keep our eye on what is going on in Pakistan with respect to this case, what steps they are taking towards or not taking towards a free and fair
trial. Also joins us from Pakistan, and I want to bring in Pakistani defense and political analyst Tariq Pirzada for more on this. Tariq Pirzada, in your appreciation, one, setback for Pakistan, double whammy for Pakistan. You've been forced to arrest Hafiz Saeed. Point one. Point two, Kulbhushan Jadhav, you cannot hang him. You're supposed to give India consular access to him. Will he get a fair trial in Pakistan now, sir?
Actually, there is a double whammy for India. Let me read this quotation from Times of India. It says, and this is a quote from today's verdict by the International Court of Justice. It says, the court has, however, rejected remedies sought by India, including annulment of military court decision convicting Jadhav. You guys have faced a major crushing defeat in terms of your case having been thrown out.
Sir, you sound like Pakistan Army in 1971. One day before losing Dhaka, you were claiming victory. You actually sound like that, and which is Pakistan's biggest disaster in life. But let me get Sushant Sareen to respond to that. Sushant Sareen, wasn't that AIM Plus? That was AIM Plus, trying to get the trial, military trial annulled. The main thing was to ensure he remains alive. The main thing also remained to ensure that India gets consular access. Sushant Sareen, please respond to Tariq Pirzada.
Look, Gaurav, here is the thing. In terms of virtually every prayer that we made, I think it was successful. The entire case was successful. Clearly, the remedies that Mr. Salve, and all due credit to him for fighting a brilliant case, and even more than him, to the government of India for not deserting an Indian citizen and taking up cudgels on behalf of an Indian citizen in predicament. I think all credit to the government. Even though many of us were skeptical whether this thing would work, but I think they had the faith in themselves that they will make it work. But having said that, I think the remedies which we were seeking from the ICJ were, had they come about, it would have been completely unprecedented.
Yes.
probably we were pushing the envelope on that one. But whatever we have got, I think it is a resounding victory.
It's a
Having
resounding
said
victory
that,
for
Gaurav,
India.
let me just add one point before this
Tariq Pirzada, will Pakistan give him a fair trial?
I just want to say one thing. You know, this legal battles will go on, there will be holding operations, but I think this matter will ultimately be solved behind the scenes. It's not going to be solved in a court of law. It is not going to be solved through the legal channels. It will be done behind the scenes. That will happen in the fullness of time.
There'll be no scenes. There'll be no scenes, and your man Kulbhushan will go to hell very soon.
That's how this matter is going to be solved.
Okay.
I don't see any other way legally, the Pakistani courts actually waking up and giving an enlightened judgment that there was a miscarriage of justice and we need to release this fellow. And
that's the problem, Ambassador Mukherjee. That's the problem in a Pakistani. Which Pakistani civilian court would dare to go against a Pakistani military court? Tariq Pirzada, let's have an intelligent conversation. I know it's very difficult the moment Pakistani guests join us, but let's at least make an attempt, sir. Let's at least make an attempt. Listen into Ambassador Shiv Shankar Mukherjee. I will come back to you for your views. Ambassador Mukherjee, which civilian judge in Pakistan will have the guts to go against a military court in Pakistan when they've hanged their own prime ministers and leaders? Ambassador Mukherjee.
It'll be dealt with by the Pakistani military
I mean,
court
look.
or the appellate court. It will not go back to any lower civilian court.
Okay.
Will you tell this man to keep quiet for a little while?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, look, I mean, the track record of the judiciary
one by one, we were having a lovely conversation. We were having such an intelligent discussion, Tariq Pirzada. Let's please continue with it. Let Ambassador Mukherjee speak. I will come back. I will come back to you. I will come back to you. Tariq Pirzada, give me 30 seconds. Give me 30 seconds. Can Tariq Pirzada give me 30 seconds? Go on, Ambassador. Yes, go on, Ambassador.
Well, look, I'll simply say this. As far as the Pakistani establishment is concerned, and the Pakistani establishment's influence and its writ is writ large, even on the judiciary, where India is concerned, where cases with India are concerned, where it's a question of an issue relating to India, fair play, justice, all that goes out of the window.
Fair play and justice goes out of the window. That's the problem. That's the problem, Colin Gonsalves, with Pakistani judiciary. Yes. You're hearing Ambassador Mukherjee. Sir, Tariq Pirzada Sahab, let me bring in Colin Gonsalves for a moment. Let him give him his views. Let him give you his views, and then I'll come back to you. Colin Gonsalves, Mukherjee and Sushant Sareen both are of the opinion that fair trial in Pakistan, especially when a military court has delivered a sham verdict, may not be possible at all.
I think many of our friends in India may not have a complete picture of the robustness in certain parts of the Pakistan judiciary. We must remember,
please tell us which parts.
Some of these judges stood up against General Musharraf when he insisted that they should sign allegiance to the military and not to the constitution. I would say we must keep our minds open to the possibility that the High Court and even the Supreme Court of Pakistan may intervene at some stage to ensure that a fair trial is necessary. It's a 50-50 chance. But I must say that we should keep our minds open, because there are judges in Pakistan who are very sturdy and very firm.
Sushant Sareen wants to respond to you.
And we should not run them down.
Wants to respond to you
it's a good
because
thing
in a country where judges were forced to take an oath to Musharraf's constitution. Okay, Sushant Sareen, you want to respond to Colin Gonsalves?
That's long gone.
Let me just say one thing. Mr. Gonsalves has some kind of, idea about the Pakistani judicial system. I don't think he studies it as closely as I do, even though I'm not a lawyer. See, here is the thing. Any judge who has taken any step over the last 5 or 6 years, any judge who has stood up to the bullying of the military, the interference of the military, it has actually been prosecuted and been sacked. We are seeing a reference against a judge by the name of Visa, who is now facing as the Supreme Judicial Council, a completely tainted case. We've seen another High Court judge who called the bluff of the ISI that they were threatening him to take up the cases against some of the opposition, actually that time the ruling party fellows, and fix them. He was sacked summarily. So that is what is happening. For Mr. Gonsalves to give these kind of, certificates, and the judge who actually stood up at that time, the kind of scandals he's involved in, the kind of way he promoted his son, the kind of bribery scandals that surrounded his son and everybody else, and all those other judges. I don't know which world these guys in Indian lawyers live in. Maybe they have this cozy club and they just want to keep giving certificates to Pakistani lawyers.
No, and what is worse, Tariq Pirzada, your country lost the case. Your country lost the case so badly that the International Court of Justice, and I was watching the verdict being read out. In every case, your case was being thrown out. Case by case, point by point, on admissibility, on procedure, on Vienna Convention. Pakistan's case was just thrown out, sir. It's a huge slap on the face of Pakistan's lawyers, sir.
You're talking to me?
Yes, Tariq Pirzada, I'm talking to you, sir.
Yes. Oh, my dear friends, and let me address both of you, your guests. One of the guests was making sense. Pakistan is the best judiciary in the world. Mr. Zardari is in jail. Mr. Nawaz Sharif is in jail. There is no connection between the establishment, which means army in your lexicon. Pakistan is a civil judiciary. And
sir, day before yesterday, Dawn had a headline about ISI forum shopping and judge shopping to get favorable verdicts. Sir, 2 days back there was a headline in the Pakistani newspaper. Sir, such to bolo. Sir, when you come to India, when you come on an Indian channel, we expect you to speak the truth. Sir, you're not a lawyer or a judge in Pakistan. Please speak the truth.
I am a lawyer.
Okay. Oh, that's why you're not speaking the truth. Okay. Go on, sir. Go on. The floor is yours. Okay, so you're saying you're a lawyer, then the floor is yours. But Sushant Sareen, ISI was forum shopping. ISI was shopping for adequate benches, proper benches. That's a known fact, Sushant Sareen.
Sorry, I didn't get your question, Rahul.
Well, it's a difficult
Tariq Pirzada was just telling me that judiciary in Pakistan is independent and judges, they stand up to the establishment. And I was just telling him that just recently there was a report in Pakistani newspapers about how ISI officers were fixing benches to get favorable judgments.
Exactly, and the High Court judge who exposed that actually got sacked, and he was sacked summarily by the so-called independent judiciary.
Yes.
There is another judge who is currently being prosecuted. I just mentioned him, who spoke out with the kind of shenanigans that the ISI and these fellows do with terrorist groups, and he is now being hauled up before the Supreme Judicial Council. We have the example of the judge who was intimidated and blackmailed by the dirty tricks department of the Pakistani, by the Department of Agriculture as it's called now, who then passed a verdict against Mr. Nawaz Sharif, and that videotape has come out and the judges are now running for cover because apparently there are other videotapes where these judges are found doing all kinds of nefarious activities. So give me a break about these fellows. They keep talking about the Sicilian mafia and all of that, but they are the biggest cowards, and they are mostly people who actually give their judgments. Virtually, those judgments are written by the military establishment.
Okay.
So, for people to say that it's a free and fair judiciary, it's an independent
you guys, I love you guys.
I suppose when you get people like Tariq Pirzada on your show, that's what we'll hear.
Okay, but Tariq Pirzada, you will not be laughing for very long, and unfortunately not many Pakistanis will be laughing for very long, because you also stand completely exposed on the issue of Hafiz Mohammad Saeed, your strategic asset. You have arrested Hafiz Mohammad Saeed only today.
Thanks for watching the video. For more such news and updates, please like, share and subscribe to India Today. Also check out our other great videos from our channel. We know you will love to.